How many times have you erased yourself just to keep the peace? How many times have you swallowed your tears, your anger, your discomfort, just so you wouldn't seem difficult, just to keep someone close? Have you noticed how that becomes a routine? First, you ignore an offensive comment. Then you tolerate indifference. Later, you're the one apologizing for being hurt. All of it in the name of something you can no longer define. Love, acceptance, fear of being alone. Meanwhile, something inside you dies, slowly, quietly. But today, that silent death ends. Because in this video, you'll confront a truth that many fear to admit. Setting boundaries is not cruelty. Cruelty is allowing yourself to be destroyed just to avoid displeasing others. And anyone who is disturbed by your boundaries never truly respected your existence. From this moment on, you will learn the cold, yet fair art of applying consequences. And make no mistake, this will upset many. But those who do not respect your limits do not deserve your silence. My feelings don't matter. My dignity is irrelevant. My peace is worth less than their comfort. This internal message doesn't scream. It whispers, but it spreads like a slow-acting poison, seeping into every corner of your life. You begin to believe that maybe this is what love looks like. Maybe this is all you deserve. But here is the antidote: consequences. Setting boundaries is not selfish. It is self-preservation. It's not about controlling others. It's about reclaiming control over your own emotional reality. When you say, "If you speak to me like that again, I will end the conversation," you are not being cruel. You are stating without apology that your self-respect is non-negotiable, that your peace is not for sale. Let's talk about what this looks like in real life. Healthy boundaries are clear, firm, and unapologetic. Statements like, "I don't accept being treated this way. If it happens again, I will walk away." Or, "If you keep showing up late without notice, I will stop including you in my plans." These are not threats. They are facts, simple truths about how you expect to be treated, and what will happen if those expectations are ignored. Now, I know what many are thinking. Will they think I'm cold? What if they get angry? What if I lose the relationship? These fears are natural. But here is the hard truth. Anyone who reacts with anger to your healthy, reasonable boundaries never truly respected you. Their anger is not about your change. It's about their loss of control. And yes, in some cases, the relationship might not survive. But if it only exists at the expense of your well-being, ask yourself, is that truly love? A more subtle danger comes when people try to emotionally manipulate you into dropping your boundaries. They may cry, make you feel guilty, accuse you of changing, promise to do better. They will do anything to make you let your guard down. That's when your strength matters most, because boundaries that collapse under pressure aren't boundaries at all. They are invitations to be mistreated again. Before we move on to the next truth, I want to acknowledge something important. If you're still watching this, if your heart is beating faster, if this truth is starting to hurt, you are exactly where you need to be. You are waking up, and that's not comfortable. But it's real. This journey of reclaiming your power is not easy, but it is always, always worth it. What you allow is what will continue. This simple truth should be written on every mirror, especially for those who confuse allowing with loving. Some of the deepest pain doesn't come from what others do, but from what you allow, again and again. There's a name for this cycle: permissiveness. You think you're helping, you call it love, but in practice, you're protecting someone from the consequences of their own choices, and those who are spared from consequences don't change. They repeat. Imagine this. Someone you love is poisoning themselves, but you hide the symptoms, clean the mess, pretend it will pass. You're not helping, you're only making it easier for them to keep self-destructing. That is what emotional permissiveness does. Empathy, misdirected. Love, confused with avoidance. You forgive without demanding change. You offer relief, not responsibility. And so the cycle begins. Boundary broken, apology, forgiveness, repetition. You hope it changes, but without consequence, that hope becomes your prison. The cruelest part, most permissive people, aren't weak. They're the ones who endure the most. But endurance without limits becomes self-destruction. You explain. You excuse. You swallow your needs to protect someone else's potential. But potential, without accountability, means nothing. Now stop and ask yourself, what if consequences are the most loving thing you can offer? Holding someone accountable is not punishment. It's a mirror, and it forces the other person to look inward and ask, what am I really doing? True love doesn't shield from truth. True love offers growth, even when it hurts. And no, consequence is not revenge. Revenge comes from pain. Consequence is neutral. It's simply what follows a choice. If someone lies, you stop trusting. If they disrespect your time, you stop prioritizing them. If they cross your boundaries, you restrict access, not to hurt, but to clarify. The most powerful change you can make, remove the emotion instead of yelling, "You're selfish, I'm tired of you." Say, when this happens, I feel disrespected. If it continues, I won't stay in this dynamic. One attacks, the other communicates, one creates conflict, the other opens the door to growth. That is maturity. That is clarity. It's you saying, I care about you, but I care about me too, and if I have to choose between your comfort and my peace, when I choose me. And if they cry, if they guilt trip you, if they promise they'll change, that is not the moment to surrender. That's proof your boundary is working, because those who seek control panic when they realize it's gone. So ask yourself, if this person never changes, what must I do to find peace? The answer is your truth. Let it guide you, because allowing abuse is not compassion. It is slow abandonment of them and of yourself. Real compassion has the courage to say, enough, and maybe, just maybe, that's what will finally set you both free. My feelings don't matter, my dignity is irrelevant, my peace is worth less than their comfort. This message doesn't scream, it whispers, but it spreads like a silent poison. It seeps in slowly and takes over everything. Without noticing, you start accepting a kind of treatment that your younger self would be ashamed of. You think, maybe this is love. Maybe it's the best I can get. But here is the antidote. Consequences. Setting boundaries is not selfishness. It's self-preservation. It's not about controlling others. It's about reclaiming control over your emotional reality. When you say, if you speak to me like that again, the conversation ends. You're not being cruel. You're saying with clarity, my self-respect is not for sale. My peace is not negotiable. Now think practically. Healthy boundaries are clear, firm, and unapologetic. Sentences like, I don't accept this kind of treatment. If it happens again, I'll step away. Or, if you keep showing up late without warning, I'll stop including you in my plans. These are not threats. They are facts. Simple truths about how you expect to be treated, and what will happen. If that's ignored, but I know, you might be thinking, what if they think I'm cold? What if they get angry? What if I lose the relationship? Those fears are real, but the harder truth is this. Anyone who reacts with anger to healthy boundaries never truly respected you. Their anger isn't about your change. It's about the control they're losing, and yes, maybe the relationship won't survive. But if it only exists at the cost of your well-being, was that ever love? Or was it disguised submission? The more subtle danger comes later. Emotional manipulation. They might cry, make you feel guilty, say you've changed, promise to do better, all to get you to let your guard down. But this is when you must be strongest. Because boundaries that bend under pressure aren't boundaries, they're invitations to be heard again. And before we go further, let me acknowledge something important. If you've made it this far, if your heart beat a little faster hearing this, if this truth is starting to reach deep, then you are waking up, and awakening hurts. But it's real. It's necessary. Reclaiming your power is not easy, but it's the only path that leads back to yourself. Have you ever stopped to reflect on what you're truly allowing in your life, under the name of what you call love? There's a phrase that should be printed on every mirror. What you allow, you teach. And that truth is harsh. But as a Stoic would say, the truth doesn't need to be comfortable. It needs to be useful. So often, the pain you feel isn't just from the other person's behavior, but from the fact that you continue to allow it. This isn't about weakness. Quite the opposite. Those who allow the most are often the ones who endure the most. But endurance without limits is not strength, it's self-sabotage, and it must be faced head-on. The cycle of permissiveness is subtle. You think you're helping. You believe you're being understanding, compassionate, but in reality, you're protecting someone from the natural consequences of their own actions. And here lies a Stoic truth. Those who don't face consequences don't learn. They don't grow. They repeat. Picture this. Someone you love is slowly destroying themselves. But, instead of confronting the truth, you clean up the mess, cover the signs, and hope things get better. That's not help. That's denial. That's allowing collapse in silence. True compassion demands courage. Courage to let others face reality. Courage to understand that forgiveness without change is relief for the offender, never responsibility. As the Stoics taught, virtue lies in action, not intention. To say you love someone but continue supporting destructive cycles, that's not virtue, that's avoidance. When someone hurts you and you forgive without setting a clear consequence, you're not offering a second chance. You're granting permission for it to happen again. And so the pattern forms: boundary crossed, apology accepted, forgiveness given. Cycle repeats. You are not weak for enduring, but endurance must come with wisdom, too. Harden the soul does not mean to silence your pain. It means to learn from it. Here is a truth that is non-negotiable. Without consequences, hope becomes a prison. You wait for them to change. You believe in their potential. You swallow your pain to protect an idea of who they could be. But what is potential without responsibility? Nothing. An empty echo, a promise with no action. And yes, you can act with firmness without seeking revenge. Consequence is not punishment. It's not about making someone suffer. It's about restoring the natural balance that the absence of boundaries has distorted. If someone lies, you stop trusting. If someone disrespects your time, you stop prioritizing them. If someone repeatedly crosses your boundaries, you withdraw access, not out of cruelty but out of clarity. From now on, remove the emotional charge from your response. Don't shout, "You're selfish and I'm done with you." Say, "When this happens, I feel disrespected. And if it continues, I won't be able to maintain this connection." That is not anger. That is equilibrium. It is you, like a true Stoic, responding to injustice with firmness, without letting it consume you. You can love someone and still say, "I care about you. But I care about myself too. And if I must choose between your comfort and my peace, I choose my peace." And when the manipulation comes, because it will, with tears, promises, guilt, or blame, know this. That is not a sign that you've done something wrong. It's a sign that your boundary is working. People who rely on control always panic when they realize they're losing it. And when that moment comes, ask yourself, if nothing changes, what must I do to be at peace? That is your answer. That is your compass. Because allowing chaos is not kindness. It is slow abandonment of yourself and of the other person. Real compassion has the courage to say, enough. And maybe, just maybe, that is the one act of true love that might finally set you both free. The truth few dare to face is this. The most devastating kind of abandonment doesn't come from others. It's the kind you practice against yourself every time you choose someone else's peace over your own. Every time you silence your pain to avoid conflict. Every time you offer understanding to someone who only gives you neglect. But there comes a point when the soul can't take it anymore. When the body begins to signal, the tension that won't go away, the exhaustion that never improves, the constant feeling of carrying more than you should. This is not weakness, it's an alarm. It's your inner system screaming you've lost yourself. The Stoic doesn't deny pain. He faces it with steady eyes. He doesn't avoid responsibility. He carries it with honor, and above all, he doesn't abandon himself. He stays aligned with his principles, even when the world pressures him to bend. That's why true liberation begins with one simple, powerful question. If this person never changes, what do I need to do to find peace? That answer is your compass. Don't wait for an apology that may never come. Don't wager your serenity on the promise of change from someone who doesn't even recognize their mistakes. Justice isn't about wanting others to suffer. It's about protecting what is yours, your sanity, your energy, your inner space. With every respected boundary, with every consequence upheld, you are not being cruel. You are rebuilding yourself. And yes, you will doubt. You will shake. You will wonder if you're being too harsh. But the path of self-mastery isn't paved with comfort. It's paved with clarity. Let me say this again. Mercy is for the truly repentant. For repeat offenders, what remains is distance, not out of vengeance but out of necessity. You deserve peace more than they deserve another chance. So if you've made it this far, take a deep breath. Something within you is awakening. You are not fragile for caring. But you must learn that love without boundaries becomes a prison, and empathy without discernment becomes self-sabotage. From today on, commit to a new standard, not the one of silence, not the one of permission, but the one of truth, lived with firmness. Start small. One clear boundary, one consequence followed through, one choice for yourself. And if this message stirred something within you, if it brought discomfort, clarity, or even anger, don't ignore it. That's your soul resurfacing. That's you remembering who you are. Like this video. Subscribe. But more than that, apply it. Because watching doesn't transform. Action does. And the next video waiting for you here, it's not a coincidence. It's your next step toward a life of more strength, more presence, and finally, more peace. You were not born to live explaining yourself. You were born to live with honor.